So last week I was saying that I was again going to go back and look at the pure pursuit stuff, and I can either run it on the simulator or run it on the real vehicle out in the front yard. And one of my thoughts was if I slow down the update rate. We decided if you drive really slow or possibly speed up your update rate from your GPS, since we're taking localization directly from the GPS. So whatever it says, this is that's what we are. So the faster that updates, you got a better idea of your instantaneous location and orientation. And it seems like if you speed that up or slow the vehicle way down, this software will try to stay on a straight line. And it turns out, um, I was thinking, so instead of driving slow or speeding up the update rate, and the problem is if I go out and drive around with my real vehicle in the yard, I put it at point A at some arbitrary orientation, and I want to drive to point B at some arbitrary orientation, and I say go, it'll start driving. It's supposed to be driving in a straight line, but it kind of wanders back and forth. And it actually kind of oscillates back and forth on that line. And I have no idea why. And if I go look at the, play back all the values in Plot Juggler, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it thinks it needs to turn this direction and then it needs to turn this direction, but I can't see why it wants to turn. I can see that it is indeed turning and the vehicle does move, and then it says, oh, I need to correct. And I can't tell. It's the chicken and the egg type of problem. I can't tell why it's complaining about that. So I thought if just as a test, I thought I'd slow it down to say a 1 hertz update rate. So go into my GPS and say, just give me a value once per second. Then I'll get a value and start driving. And then a full second later, I'll see the new value come in and I'll do the new calculations. And then I decided that possibly if I go in the GPS, I could go in and say, instead of a 1 hertz update rate, put it say a half a hertz. So it takes 2 seconds to get a new value, or put in 10 seconds to get a new value. If I can't change the GPS, I could probably just go into the driver and just arbitrarily say, throw out samples until I get up to where I want to be. So if I wanted, 10 seconds between samples, I could just throw out 9 of the samples and go with that. So that's something I was thinking about doing. And then also, if I fire up the simulator, it'd be nice if as the thing's driving around, if I could put extra markers on the RViz screen that says, here's the direction the vehicle's pointed, and whatever else I can think of, um, just to give me a way to visually, as it's driving around, try to get an idea of why does it want to turn one way or the other. So that's kind of what I was thinking about, and I haven't actually fired any of that up to try it. But that's just kind of my approach to that. If I get around to doing that, I guess the quickest thing is I got a computer sitting right here. It's got the simulator and all that stuff loaded on it. And theoretically, if I just fire up the computer and go to my history file and say, got to type in these 6 lines and it'll run, I can just watch it on that. And then I can, play with that and try to get the RViz markers, giving me better stuff. It's been months ago now. I was showing some stuff where I could put extra odometry markers on, and I could have, say, just attach an extra odometry marker to base link and just extend it way out, like say, 5 meters or something, and make it real skinny. And that gives me a line showing where the center line of the robot is, when it wants to drive around, in addition to the original odometry markers, where you could say, create a reasonably small one and say, keep 100 of these. So as you drive around, it leaves a path behind you. So you can actually apply more than one odometry marker or something. And I thought maybe I could put an odometry marker on the steering, one of the 2 front wheels, so I can see what direction the wheels are pointed. Just things like that. I was just trying to figure out what are some handy things to do for that. So if I get around to actually doing something, I'll have to try that. And another thing, I didn't have my notes here. Last week I was saying I wanted to move the Zoom call we're doing right now. I want to move that onto my Linux computer so I can stop using my Windows computer. And this morning when I went to fire up the computers to do this, I remembered, oh yeah, I was going to do that this week. And I haven't done that. So that's yet another thing that I need to just sit down and do that and get all the things worked out. And that brings me around to the fact that those new headphones that I bought at the pawn shop, which they say they're Turtle Beach, and it's got a microphone on it, and I assume they're like gaming headphones to start with or something. And when I bought them, I was trying it on my Linux computer and it didn't seem to recognize the microphone. And I played with it for quite a while and finally thought, I'll try it on my Windows computer. So I plugged it in there. I thought, oh, well, they work on my Windows computer. But this morning when I fired this thing up, I was playing with it and I realized, no, it's not working on the Windows computer. It's too smart for its own good and says, oh, I don't see your headphones coming in like you told me. So I'll go ahead and use the microphone on the laptop. So it looks like I came to the conclusion the microphone on this headset just does not work. So that it's got some really nice headphones. They cover your ears and it blocks out all the extra sound and they sound really good. But I don't think the microphone's working. So I can do some more experiments on that. And somewhere I've got a USB microphone that I bought and I can plug that in, see if I can get that to work. Maybe that, by piecing stuff together, it's just the same thing you have to do every time is, try to figure out what you're trying to do and then what can I use and what do I have? And hopefully you don't waste a lot of money, buying lots and endless supply of different things to try. So that's kind of where my life's at right now. So I will say my weather's really nice outside right now. I don't see any more snow coming. Yeah, we might just randomly get a little bit of flurries now and then, but in general, the ground is clear and the grass is starting to grow, and so I should get outside and start working on that kind of stuff too. So I think that's all I have to say for this week.
Well, I applaud your efforts, even if they're sort of virtual, on trying to figure out how to make the pure pursuit go faster. Um, Larix, I think, is right. Is that the guy that put that together the first time? Um, you're on mute, my man.
Uh, yes, it is Lyrics, and I think that's actually like a company name, not a person's name. So it's Lyrics Pure Pursuit.
Oh, I'll be
Yeah,
darned. I didn't know that.
and yeah, that is the one that we were playing with.
So I continued to work on getting my mission prepared. Um, by the way, I have updated GitHub, so everything I have is in GitHub at the moment. So this is a plot juggler view of the outside perimeter. These are instructions. I did make one change. I added a buffer to this represents an obstacle. So I drove around an obstacle in the yard, captured the points. The red dots are basically like a 1 meter separation on the points captured in the ROS bag. The best fit to those red dots is that blue line. And then the green line is, I've added a buffer to that to give me just a little bit extra safety measure around that over time. If I see that it's, is driving around that obstacle well, then I could reduce that. But I think I've got that set at like a 30% inflation factor at the moment. So I made that change, and then I got down to um, producing a series of concentric rings, avoiding that obstacles. That's what that little O or circle represents. And then I started having trouble with my, I'll call it my data set. Effectively, I was using a spreadsheet to capture, not only the initial um, data from the ROS bag about the waypoints, but then I was also capturing things like here's the first obstacle and the center point and the radius, and here's the path around the obstacle. And I started having trouble with reading reading the data, I could open it up. It seems like I've closed a couple files here. Why am I getting that for recent? It's not what I want.
Are you on the wrong computer?
I was. I think I have 3 going at the moment. So I was in the the spreadsheet world. Um, I thought, hey, I'll just use native Ubuntu spreadsheet or LibreOffice spreadsheet, and it gives you a .ods extension that you can see a .xlsx there, because I could literally open up the spreadsheet, see the data, but was fighting like heck to get a statement like this to work. Now that's the old one, or I'm sorry, that's the new one. So the message is, if you be careful about trying to be clever and stick with native Ubuntu LibreOffice ODS files, because I think some of these functions are a little bit buggy, and I could create the sheet, could see the sheet, but couldn't read the sheet. But if I move the sheet from the last position in the workbook to some other position, then I could read it. I'm like, that's just too glitchy for me. So I tried the Excel function, and that seemed to work better. Well, and then that rippled back through. So I had to go back up to my other programs and sort of rewrite that. So that's where I've been, is in the process of rewriting adjusting earlier programs so that I could go back and use an .xlsx file instead of an ODS file. So the next thing is to create the Bostrofeden coverage map based on that innermost ring. And so I've got the code, but I'm sort of cleaning up the code as I go along. So that's where I'm at. I can't think of anything else to mention that might be worthwhile. So I think that's it.
Okay, I guess I have nothing else either, so we'll go back to BSing in the background.